It will be a night that goes down in American history. Pictures of Donald Trump's armed supporters storming Capitol Hill were broadcast all over the world. Inside, Congress were getting ready to formally confirm Joe Biden as the winner of the presidential election. Instead, they were told to leave the chamber immediately and seek refuge in their offices.
4 people died in the violence, and now senior Democrats have said they want to impeach.
The number of people in hospital with COVID-19 stands at 1,467. That's almost at the same level as the last peak of the virus in April. And in the last 24 hours, 78 people have died. But as the number of cases increases, we also see another more positive statistical rise. That's the number of people who are being vaccinated. The First Minister confirmed that over half of care home residents have received their first dose of the COVID vaccination, and all over 80s should have their dose within the next 4 weeks. So far, 113,459 people have received a vaccine here in Scotland. Here's a breakdown of the weekly figures since the vaccination programme began here in Scotland up to the 3rd of January. Efforts to vaccinate those in the priority groups are stepping up, with more than 1,000 vaccination centres, including GP practices, due to be in operation from next week. Our political correspondent, Andrew Kerr, has more. Now, we've had to make countless sacrifices over the last 10 months, haven't we? But for some people with relatives in care homes, it's now almost a year since they've been able to see a loved one indoors or hold their hands.
And as we've just heard, more than half the country's care home residents have now had their first dose of the vaccine. But there's still no guidance on what that means for visiting. Katie Hunter reports. It really has been heartbreaking for so many families, hasn't it? Not being able to go in and do the most basic of things.
The most basic thing, I know. I mean, this whole thing has been difficult, but that surely has to be one of the most heartbreaking things for people.
All they want is to give mums and dads a hug.
Hopefully soon.
Well, let's move to a different part of society now. And you'll remember when university and college students wanted to go home for Christmas, they were advised to limit contact with others and get a coronavirus test before they left. Now there are calls for clarity on how they should return under the new tighter restrictions.
The government says it's looking urgently at the issue, but some students are already returning to campuses from the Christmas break. Here's our education reporter, Lucy White.
These BBC News.
It's got to be a huge concern for the government, doesn't it? I mean, not only here in Scotland, governments around the UK, because we remember what happened, you know, when the students went back last time, and the numbers, you saw pockets of them just spiking, didn't you?
I know, and one imagines that the international students will not be getting back because of the travel restrictions. So actually there's a myriad of different issues. It's going to be a tricky one.
It's a tricky one.
Right, now to some of the day's other news, and the Swedish government is recommending wearing face masks on public transport, reversing earlier COVID guidance. The rate of new...
Now, a legal case over the definition of the word woman has begun at the Court of Session in Edinburgh. Campaign groups the Scottish government over a law which aims to increase the number of women in senior positions on public bodies.
The group claims it gives trans people greater representation and sets a dangerous precedent. But trans rights activists say changing the law would be a setback. Our political correspondent Lindsay Buse reports.
Yes, 88.
Yeah, pretty worrying times for horse racing.
Yeah. It's big business here, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And they've lost quite a significant amount of money. And that $2 million that they got as part of the Scottish Government grant, it goes so far. But it's such a big sport across the country. It can only go so far.
But as you say, with all sports, especially at grassroots level, it's very difficult.
Definitely, yeah.
Thank you very much, Laura.
Thank you.
Some more of the day's news stories now. And more than 11 million people in a city in northern China are banned from leaving after a new coronavirus outbreak. More than 5...
Thank you.
And apparently they've got quite an international following. I don't know why.
I have no idea why they... But, you know, they are really good tips, aren't they?
They are, and it's so important that we all kind of try and keep up.
Exactly.
Okay. Right, with schools closed under the current lockdown, there are concerns that some children might not have the access to food in the same way. But a takeaway owner in Motherwell is doing her bit to ensure that no child goes hungry while school buildings are closed.
Anyone who needs help can go to a number of different takeaways and ask for their Auntie Tricia. This alerts workers that they're in need of a helping hand. Our reporter Gillian Sharp has been to find out more.
News.
Well, it's time now for a look at the weather, and Christopher's here. There's a wee bit of snow behind you, Christopher. Is there a lot more on the way?
For some of us, a fair amount of snow actually falling right now across eastern parts of the country.
Oh, really?
We do have a Met Office yellow warning in force. In the last half an hour, that was extended a bit further west, so about and tomorrow.
Oh, it's so cold, isn't it?
Isn't
Thank
it
you
just?
very much, Christopher.
And that's all from Rebecca and me for tonight. Laura Miller is here tomorrow night.
Good night for now. Thanks for watching.